I love me a little auto-tune run. Let's go. My name is Jessica Holyfield, and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're going to be taking a look at Easy by 르세라핌. I have had many people reach out to me asking if I could look at this, and normally when I get like a larger volume of people requesting, I do, if it works in my schedule, try to look at them, so I'm really happy I have the opportunity of doing that today. I'm excited. I think I've seen a little bit of the choreo, and I think I've heard the course, and I think that's about it. So we're gonna look at the dance practice. I do know they have a version in the garage. I think that's like a studio spot, and in the music video. So we're gonna look at all of those, pick which one has the best shot to look at the choreo, and then we'll do an analysis. So let's go ahead and check it out. So I've heard this part, but not seen the choreo. Nice subtlety there. Nice. It does have an old school hip hop rock and bounce to it, for sure. Little subtleties, usage of the chest. I like that. Really great way to feature your performer in that moment. Some of these fits, I would like to own that jacket from one of our girls, I think in the blonde. I want her jacket or flannel. It's a vibe. Subtleties. They're doing a good job utilizing things that they're most likely familiar with. I can tell what looks more natural for them, especially this kind of usage right here. Clean. Has a viral TikTok social media vibe to it with some of these choices. I love her hair too. This girl is just such a vibe over here. Fun. I saw that in Eyelets, but I know this came out first. I guess that's a trend, that little transition there. Fun. Very different vibe than, I think I've only seen one other from SSERAFIM, and I know that one was in collaboration with a game, right? Overwatch? Was it Overwatch? So I understand that one was different niche, different vibe. So I like this. You had one of them turn a different way. I wonder if that was intentional. It was a vibe. I don't mind it. It looks fun. It definitely looks something that I would want to learn because of the hip-hop fundamentals within it, in the sense of the rock and the bounce, and then how you have to isolate and make sure you use your core. So in general, I mean, I like it. It's cool. Let's go ahead and look at a couple other versions. This is a music video we're gonna look at. Oh, you know what? Maybe I could turn on some lyrics so I can get the context a little bit more. Hype's pulling those. Hype pulls that like spare no expense vibe, you know, like from Jurassic Park. They're like, we're just gonna yeah, we're just gonna spare no expense on these music videos. It's a vibe though. Really? I like that. I like the subtlety of that groove. That was nice. Vampire-esque, okay. The medieval vampires are all the rage nowadays. So the choreo looks different here than you see in the dance practice in terms of their texture and how they're doing it. Because if you think about what they're wearing fit-wise and the type of track it is, it feels a little bit, it matches better as my in general note. I'm sorry I keep like spacing between. I'm trying to do two things at once and it sucks sometimes. When I get really focused, it's hard to do that. Nice. I love me a little auto-tune run. Let's go. Yeah, so notice with the, like how they're hitting it, they're utilizing the lower back to arch it a little bit more to set up a different posture in some of these grooves in comparison when you saw them in the dance practice space. They took a more like hip hop approach where you have the rock and the bounce way more at the forefront. Cool. These music videos are freaking dope. She also has these little... Now, okay, so like, you notice she had these little horns there, and they're in, it looks like a Catholic church, right? And I feel like this is just, you know, I'm coming from an American lens of some things that have been coming out as of late. I am not a Satan worshiper by any means. Quite the opposite. I'm a Christian, and so I'm just naturally more sensitive on picking up certain imagery, and I just noticed the horns there. I noticed there's like horns in Sheesh. I noticed in America, Justin Timberlake released God Bless America on his music video. It says there's no angels on the dance floor, and he was very correct on that. So there's a lot of that type of imagery where it kind of low-key feels like we're trending it, right? It feels like a trend, if that makes sense. And that's a really weird thing for me to say. Now, is it my favorite trend? No, it's not. I would be perfectly fine to not have that kind of imagery. But also, do I think that they are signifying anything like specific, like straight up? No, I personally don't think so, especially when you think context of the track. And that was really the only little thing I noticed too. But it is something that it is a trend nowadays where you have a lot of this imagery come into play, like the horns, regardless if you are talking about angels and demons or that kind of stuff, or monsters. Like, it's just something I've noticed. So please don't take what I said as 르세라핌 are Satan worshippers. No, not what I'm saying at all. I'm just talking about, it's just like there's certain types of fits that are trends, there's certain concepts that are trends. I think this type of usage of like horns and costuming, locations and environments, that's become more of a trend as in recent years in comparison to other trends. It's just something I've noticed because of my personal background. But we're gonna go ahead and look at the other, there's another dance version, right? This one. The Garage. Why does that feel familiar to me? Is that in LA? Being real, this choreo, when you see it, just in isolation, it hits very different than in the music video, which actually helps me. Which is why it's good that I watched the music video, so it helps me frame my feedback way more appropriately. Because we think the type of, like I said, with the type of track it is, it makes sense why they're sitting, how they're sitting in some of these grooves. And it's a very conscious choice. It's not a, they can't do the groove the way that it's normally done. It's not that. Got the panda dunks coming in hot. I like that part, honestly, is probably the trickiest part, is that little walk, because of where your weight placement is on the foot before. That part right there, very subtle, little shamrock, syncopated with the hip pops. Not hip hop, hip pops. Where they like pop it back. I like that part. Part of me does wish that this was more subtle, like a straight up ISO, so we could really appreciate it. But that's just more of a preference note for me, because I'm sensitive to head ISOs because I do them in my choreography and day to day as a mover. So just like I'm a Christian, I like head isolations. And this part is different, which is kind of the ongoing trend too with like this era, is that the first couple courses are around the same, but then you have your last course is different. It could be because of the structure of how they do choreography now. They puzzle piece it, especially at Hive. I am going to double check to see who choreographed this. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a puzzle pieced one, meaning that you have a bunch of choreographers on it. Okay. Cool. It does feel like we went with, just a side note, I think that's a 르세라핌 top. It says, I'm Fearless. That was like their debut track, right? I do remember when they debuted, so I'm not super closed off in the world. And I did like their debut. They were one of my favorite girl group debuts at the time that I was looking at debuts, so that was cool. But it does look like it's giving Calvin Klein, but 르세라핌, you know? It's like the K-pop Calvin Klein. It feels like that. It's a vibe. I like it. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to the dance, like the dance practice. We're gonna make a pit stop because I figured out who choreographed it. Isabelle Capitoul. Yo! So if you don't know who she is, I'm very familiar with her because she spent a huge stint, I think, with Chop Kiss, right? Or at least at the studio. And then she's done a lot of stuff. She's on the Chaos convention circuit, and then she's choreographed for, I mean, lots of people, just like most choreographers that you see in the K-pop scene. They've done a lot of domestic work. So I'm very familiar with her. I have taken her classes in person and online, so I'm very familiar with her movement quality. But we're going to take a second and just look at her more recent work, like 2024, Isabelle. I do know this one goes harder than Easy, but we got to look at her movement quality because there is something about it that I do want to touch on that is a general note that I am going to give to 르세라핌. So let's go ahead and watch it. I've not seen this one specifically, but I know what to expect. So she's the one in the center right here in the gray. Golly. She has a really, it makes sense why there was a lot of syncopation in some of the choices. It's fun. It's full out, but it's got some sauce in it. I mean, of course it's got sauce in it. Hey. And it makes sense why they have, there's like viral things in it, or like variants of viral movement, because she does a fantastic job of incorporating it in her choreography, but she does it in like a freaking tasteful way. So like you see her vibe, it's just, she pops off, but with some, but like stylized, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's actually, it makes it really fun knowing that she choreographed this. So we're actually gonna look at the garage. Garage, I think, is in LA because I think I've seen it before on some of my colleagues' Instagrams. I think I've seen them do stuff in there, but I could be totally lying to you. I mean, you got Tupac, and then you got Snoop over there. Death Row Records represented here. So the subtlety of this here. Now, here's the thing with SSERAFIM, they're artists, they're K-pop artists, and so they have a particular like degree of training in what is implicitly sat in their bodies and posture, right? So some of these grooves you can tell they're not 100% familiar with, because you can see how they do certain grooves compared to others. And that's okay. Just like you have a lot of groups that pursue something new or different challenge, I appreciate the fact that they're students of it and we get to showcase it in a fun way. Isabelle came in clutch on this. She did a great job. I mean, it makes me want to learn it, and that's a yay, you know. That part right there. So I do feel like they do transfer or convert some of the grooves to make it feel more conversational, because Isabelle's choreo is full out. I've done it. and so when you do it to the degree of the groove that she has, it's a lot harder to sing. You know what I mean? So it makes sense with a lot of groups whenever you see them modify or restrict the torso more. And you see that they do the rock very well. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, nor the isolated body roll. I'm talking about the combination of the two in a polyrhythmic context, meaning that they're doing the body roll with the pickup or something along those lines. Those things look a bit more reserved, because for me, I'm going to chalk it up to singability. Because they're not a dance crew, so why should we hold them to that exact standard when they are a K-pop group? I do think there's enough, you can pay enough respect to the style to do it and pay homage to it, but also you're singing at the same time, and so I think there's beauty to be had in both. So, but the subtlety of that's a rock, so that's an MC rock if you want to know what that is. They take it back, nice little trot back, you notice that they did keep it pretty linear. So my observation, what if we popped it just like we rock forward, we demonstrate that we can take that risk to rock it back, because rocks are not just two-dimensional, right? It's definitely, there's like multiple planes you can rock. There's diagonals to the back, and it showcases range in a different way too, like versatility within your grooves that you want to explore. It's just good to try. Taking it through, and then by bouncing it back and then throwing it down, and then it makes the presentation forward more subtle, or it's a nicer bridge, because if you notice, they went nice and full on the rock, and then they kind of stuck it in the middle here. That part was fine, but then watch. They kind of throw the arms, so they make the arms a priority, and they do little trots versus like adding a little rock to the back. Like, that's a really subtle implicit thing that if you're not taught, it is hard to catch. Like, that's just real talk. So catching that, but they did make it a priority to showcase the focal point is the arms, but if you wanted to make it look more natural to tailor into this next move, adding a rock to the back to complement what you just did forward could be helpful. Hitting it through, and then hitting it nice and subtle. That part, like E. See, notice that it's like she goes E, Z, and they have to make it look easy if they're going to be talking about it. They got to walk the walk, so they have to be clean, right? So they do a great job of that. That E, see, it does look easy, but that little sequence right there is probably deceptively tricky because of your foot placement. And I said that already, but I still feel that way. Like, there's a good chance I may learn this because it's just fun. It's a nice little hip hop rock and bounce, and it's Isabelle, so I gotta rep my girl, it's fun. That pull through right there, notice they keep it more on the midline right there, like linear as they push. There's no opposition nearly as much or usage of that chest. Chalk it up to them being singers. That little ba, D, that was cute, that was fun. I like that because notice that they dropped the energy from high to low, and they made it a moment in the upper body, and they made it a moment in the lower body, so it was very clear for us to see. That part, doing and boom with the pull right there. Normally, you see they pulled it forward. Normally, you see people pull diagonal, but it makes sense why they didn't pull it diagonal, because they're taking it and then they're gonna make it reset diagonally up. So it's kind of like a, what's the word? Yeah, pull it, they go forward, and then they set it down. So if they go all the way down, here's why this worked. They take it forward so they can set it up diagonally to come up. It's less distance of the torso to go from mid to the side than pulling it all the way to the other side and then having to reset. That's like an oblique nightmare. So I totally understand that choice. I like it. It's cool. It's just a nice little observation. Ba, D, of course, use the body, the torso, your body. Boom, boom. I like that choice. It's fun. Then nice and subtle. This part, hits very well, very subtle, right? I think there's only a couple moments where it feels like the movement is a little louder than the sound that they're trying to justify, and we'll talk about it. It's mostly the second verse, and I touched on it with the hat ISO, and then there's one other part. They did the movements great, but whenever you want to think musicality, it's the collaboration between your music and your movement, and part of the thing is when it comes to volume or density, a fullness of your movement in comparison to what the tone of the track is. And so with K-pop, this is a really fun way to navigate that because they're the singers of the track, so they would understand more than anybody else how it's supposed to feel, right? So it's like a little mix of all that. There's that little subtlety right there. Boom, boom. Love that. And that was a little shamrock right there. Boom. Subtle. Boom. Da, da. Nice little syncopated shamrock. I like it. It's the way they step out and they do a little hop there. Fun. Right there. That was another little syncopated moment. Boom. Da, 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 da. No, could they pop the freak off on that? Yes. Did they? I mean, not really. They did keep it pretty isolated. That's fine because, you know, it showcased and it hit very well on the track. It was nice and subtle. And remember, Isabelle, what I just showed you of hers, that was way more hype and heavier bass represented. So it makes sense why their movement was more full, right? But there, I like that. Very clear for us to see that. It looks great. And it matches a lot of the subtlety of the torso that we saw earlier. And then right there, I like the taking it like we're going for a drive. Everybody's using their chest to help complement that. Boom, and they throw it. Looks really fun. Nice little subtle, like, taking it through. Part of me, you know, we're going to do this. We're going to go 0.75 just so I don't have to pause it like aggressively so much. We could talk while they're dancing. The subtlety on that, I like the double. Boom, boom. Notice the pull of the chest. They're not just using the shoulder. They're using the chest to help with the transition too. Love it. Turning it through. Now, I like this where you have one of them, click, 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 click. She, I think, has my favorite hair of the group today. And I really liked her, what is it? She had, her fit. Was she the one with that flannel that I was like, I would like to own that, please? Because I liked it. It was dope. But like their whoa, English, Jess. The whole vibe. I really like their fits in general. It looks really cool here. But notice their fits are so different here than what you saw in the music video. So does that influence how their movement's going to change? It should. And that's why here it does feel a little bit more like you're seeing more of an old school vibe represented versus the other one felt more new school and like a girl crush sitting in a groove way. You know, and so I do appreciate that subconscious versatility there, which is why it's fine. It's great to look at music videos too. Clap, and I like that part there. Boom. The da-da-da-da-da. The subtlety, they stop. Very clear. When you hear the claps, they're clapping. When you don't hear the claps, they ain't clapping. This part right here, this is a little butterfly from the right to the left. So I like it how they also have their little wings, it feels like right there with their arms. It's fun. And I like to take it through. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Nice little transition here. Getting it to showcase a different kind of, you know, staging, which was fun. Nice little turnaround. Then, instead of doing it facing front, they're facing it towards each other. Feels more communal, feels more like a group. And that's one of those things that whenever you see people do hip-hop or a street style, part of the beauty of the inception of those styles has to do with the communal aspect or the social aspect. So having these types of formations where they're facing each other or like looking at each other while they're vibing out while they make more individualized choices feels very appropriate to the culture of the style that they have gleaned the information from, regardless if it's from a choreographer or from their own knowledge. So I like that. I like being able to see formations like this for choreo like that. I like how they take the head, they kind of snake it to the other side. Looks great. Then they go, new feature right here. That's just like prepping it like she's about to do, it's like, like about to do a, like a drop, right? But she doesn't. They actually just kind of sit in it, which is really nice. So they all take it more in the upper body. I think she takes it more lower body there. No, she doesn't. So like she like places her weight, but her body, it's more not isolated, but it's more like locked in the upper. But there, everybody else is taking a more rock approach where they're hinging at the hips and making it feel more full to showcase a different level. But it's complementary because the dynamic's the same. Digging it through, I like that. Boom. I like the little throw right there. It looks great. Dee-dee-dee-dee. I like that part. That it's fast. And they did great. Very clear on the hands. Love that. The swing, swing, boom, boom. Love that throw. Bringing it back in. Little cute. Nice little. Fun. And they take it nice and subtle, just like what we saw earlier. But notice this one has way more tension. It's carrying through. There is sound that is dropped out. So that's why this feels very appropriate to bleed through the phrase, because you have sounds that are creating that environment in the back. And there's not all these other sounds that are going on like that we've been hearing. So they did a really great job on really showcasing that. Then you have a new feature over it. Nice walks on the side. Show you, there's your little shamrock once again, boom, but that one felt like you had more time to do, which is nice. The pull there, I like how she takes it and rotates it around. They pull with the chest to make it a moment. Walking it through, here we go, nice little reset. That part right there, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, that part, it always reminds me of rookie group Rena, was it Rena? No, it was Lady Bounce, her choreo, was it Caprice? Right? She did that little ding, ding, ta, 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 like that part, but then Rena, of course, became main dancer for that. Every time I see that little swivel of the foot, I always think of that. Now, did she come up with it first? Probably not, because I see it everywhere, but I really like it. It's just fun. It feels playful. It's just a playful way to like, ha-da-da-da-da, like how you run. It just feels cute. And so I like seeing that there. It's just always a nice little fingerprint for me of choreo that's just kind of lives rent-free in my brain. That's a move that feels that way for me. I love it. Then here we go. Well, I don't know. I think it's the same, right? That feels same. Yeah. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they double it up, yeah. You just don't stop. Notice there's a weight, change, left. And then they have to hop it, and then they go click, click, click. So it could be similar to if you've done like an Indian top rock. It's that kind of weight placement for that, but you're traveling to the back and you're not doing an Indian top rock, but that kind of weight placement, if you've done one, would help you in doing that particular transition. Then right there, they take it, they pull it up, and then it goes E, Z. It's just for me, I think I'd want to use the opposite arm than the arm that they're using. E, Z, and so they're using more of the chest to justify that part, which is nice. Pulling it through, double it up, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. It feels good. And it goes ba, dee, nice little groove, or just like nice little sway of energy from side to side. Everyone making their subtly different choices. I like how they're framing it towards the inside of your feature. Bringing it through, I like this part, but just one of them. Instead of the pull down, this one just felt more like one of, oh my gosh. What was it? Unlock the swag. I see a lot of people like hit that there. Anyway. That's a little older viral groove. That part's really nice. Now, really easy, haha, transition. Notice everybody stays still except for your feature to switch out to a different feature. Yeah, that part is nice. Boom, ch, boom, ch, dee dee dee. It's fun. That sequence is good. I may learn this just for that part. That was fun. And then they take it, dee 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 dee. Good job on her fixed point. So if you don't know what that is, a fixed point is whenever you take an arm or just a placement, and it's fixed in place and it doesn't move. So it's like you see this in miming, pantomiming, you see it all the time in street styles. And so in this place right here, that would be her fixed point where she takes it through. You're able to do a lot of other things, but she's subtly isolating the shoulder or the joint here to make sure that this doesn't get impacted by what's going on with the body. So that's why this part looks really nice as a visual. No keyframe necessary. That looks great. Nice. Like that little subtlety right there too. I know we noticed that earlier in the first course, but it's nice seeing it just represented in a different way, different formation, turning it through. That part, that little just the cleanliness of it. I noticed that it's complemented with the foot. You know, that part to me, that's just a preference thing. It looks great as is. You know, boom, 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 boom. And it could be the hair that influences why it feels so full too. But for me, I do like it when I see that, just that crispness. It really helps me clearly hear what they're going on, but I can still clearly hear it here. It's just me on it's just a preference thing. So it's not even a note. It's just something I noticed. That part's fine. Bringing it through, that little dee-dee-dee. That part wasn't as clear as I feel like that first part was. So I don't know if they were going from the shoulder or a chest ISO for that. Let's look at it one more time to see if we can figure it out. Ah, it's shoulder and head. Okay, got it. Cool. And now I know. Rolling it through, a little clap. boom. Then from there, they're taking their energy, moving it over. So how they did that move without using their arms is they place more of their weight onto that left foot and use it as an anchor. You do see that when people put their arm down and they move both feet like that, but they moved just one because they had their weight in the other one, using that force and putting that energy in that foot to transition that other leg over without lifting the hips. So that was good. Then you have it, she drops down, very nice clean transition out of the two. Nice subtlety there as they all complemented the lower part of the body. They come up, little bounce there, bonadon. Notice it's just more like they're sitting in the mid, like they didn't actually rock that part. They just kind of bounced it and they added a little opposition of the elbow with the hands. Little subtlety there, which is fun. They throw it down, kicking it through, the little boom. Notice the little subtle girl crush vibe right there, turning it through. That part right there. Now I don't know exactly what that particular move is called. But I've seen it more and more in recent choreographies I have looked at. So I'm going to assume it is one of those newer transitions, or it's probably something that's really popped off on social media. So it's nice to add it in choreo, but it's a really great transition and it hits multiple parts of your music depending on what you want it to do. So this part looks great. That dee 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 dee. I like that. And then they pull it behind. And then it goes nice and subtle, and then they do it again, dee 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 dee. Now you notice with some of them, they're really using like their arms to really make that move. For those, if you use your back in a group context, it's going to make it look cleaner and it's going to look more full depending on what sound you're going off of. Because the sound they're going off of is they can low-key get away with just doing their arms. But if you want it to be more powerful, using the back like you do in whacking, like you do in waving, like you do in anything, ballet, even with how you do bar work or how you hold your port-a-bras, you have to use your lats and engage that in order to make this have any ground to stand on. So for these grooves right here, that's just a cleanliness note. If they wanted that to look more natural and more clean, using the back would really help for that move there in the range of the elbows in which they're creating the position, but they do a pretty good job despite that. Picking it up. Also too, thank you for a one take. I normally say thank you for that, and I can't believe I didn't give flowers where flowers are due. Thank you, 르세라핌, for a one take, not once but twice, on your like performance version. I know they have a choreography version of this, but I think this is such a vibe, and I think this is what I wanted to look at anyway. Like, this is just a fun little vibe here, right? But I think in general, whenever you see groups do one takes, you're going to have more natural mistakes take place than whenever you have a performance version, choreography version, or even in your music video, because you can pick the best takes of whatever you're in. Also, your fits are going to be different too. Here in this case, they got, it's a one take, and they have to be mindful. They can't do 15 takes, or they'll be looking like a hot mess express on all sweaty and stuff. So you can tell that it's about the quality of the take too. And so they did a really great job on the fact that I'm finding like very minimal things with this for a group. It's very impressive. Regardless if they're known for dancing or not, it's still impressive, and we can still, say that. I think it's great. The subtlety of that was nice. I like to take that through. Boom, boom. I like that. I take it, bring it around, digging it through. We're giving the body and allowing it to respond to what's going on. We're not isolating it and allowing this moment to take place. That's really fun. Probably one of my favorite grooves that they did. Yes, ma'am, right here in the center. It does feel like we're doing like a crab walk variation. A crab, or I think it's like a hold on. Yeah, I think it's like a crab walk variation. Like, it's not even a walk. It's just like the, using, or maybe it's more of a butterfly. I don't know. Y'all let me know. If you're a hip hop head, tell me what's up. I want to know what that variation, what you would call that. Like the subtlety of that, bringing it through. Yeah, that little boom. Like, it's similar. I mean, honestly, yeah, I would honestly say it's a stationary crab with a little butterfly. It's like if you take a crab walk and you take a butterfly and you put them together and it feels like this. So that's what I'm gonna go off of. I like that part. Boom, and the sound drops out. They all reset. Neutral posture, looks great. She takes it, she kicks it. Everybody's having their own vibe. Boom, and dun, da, da, dum. Also, side note, impressive that they're able to do this not in long sleeves. Some of them are, yes, but a lot of them are not. They are going tank top. That is harder to do than you think, especially for girl groups. And it's not because they're incapable of it, but when you look at the ongoing trends of girl group choreography to boy group choreography in a K-pop sense, a lot of times how the styles are represented, or their go-to styles that they do, a lot of times the implicit posture, meaning that the posture and carriage in which you're naturally wanting to sit in, the girl groups are normally going to cater more towards the whacking vogue. If you're thinking fundamental styles, whacking vogue jazz, more so than hip hop, crump, breaking, that style, right? Because how you hold yourself is so different. Even within the ones I mentioned on that side are different in how you carry yourself and your posture depending on your music, because all of those street styles have their own music, key elements, key figures. There's so much culture in those that you can glean a lifetime worth of information from. So that's why a lot of times it's good to always be a student. You're not going to know everything, right? I sure don't know everything. I try my best for what I do know to try to word it in a way. And if I don't know, I try to figure it out so I can actually be helpful for people. But all that to say though, I am very impressed at the fact that they do not look awkward and they don't look like they're throwing energy away, because they can very easily look that way just based off of just the very limited look of what I've seen on what they're able to do in their discography. Yes, I know they're probably known for their versatility. I have not marathoned SSERAFIM like I have with other groups. Is that going to happen in the future? Probably. And I'm excited for it, but just know that that's my scope. I don't know their entire discography to go off of. I can just go off of their Overwatch. I saw their debut, and then this. So just seeing, you know, how they started and then their most recent thing and how they're able to hold themselves there, and then seeing them here, I appreciate the fact that it doesn't look like a fish out of water. And just because you're good at choreo retention doesn't mean that you are going to be good at a style, right? It's not the same thing. It's it's so much more than that. Do I think they could always actually sit in a pocket more? Yes, but this type of track actually allows for a lot of grace for them to explore this movement without having to be so grimy in it or so grounded in it, because as you saw, YSABELLE's choreo to a different track that had a heavier bass. So you have to incorporate more fullness of your body, but still showcase the integrity of the vibe of the music, you know, and the tone of it and the conversation of it, because it's conversations with movement is what this is. And you want to be able to do that, but you don't want the music to swallow you whole. Here, they're finding a really fun middle ground. So I think it was a really, really good job on YSABELLE's part for how she choreographed it. I think it was a really good job on 르세라핌's part and how they practiced and stewarded it. And I think it's good on the production side and how they made the track. So I feel like all of it works really, really well for this particular track. Now, will I say the same thing about all their discography? I don't know, but I do like this one. It's a vibe and it makes me want to learn it. So maybe I will. We'll see. But like the subtlety of it. That part right there, notice it's there. And notice that they did do something way more subtle. That's the first like really, really loud movement we've seen to a very subtle sound. So that's just my in general note for that. I know that was just a preference for her. That's fine, to each their own. She can do what she wants. It's her track. That's fine. That's just a note, something I observed. Taking it through, D. Notice we weren't like the cleanest on that in terms of like how many times we do it to branch around, but I do like the transition, that dig and the dig. I noticed with one of our girls, notice that she pulls that rock back. That's what I was talking about. Could be a choreographic choice in that first chorus when I was referencing it the first time. That's just a preference for me that I really think it would have made it look more natural in the transition for the easy part. But I digress. From here, that right there, that feels like a little sugar. So it's different than like a... It's different than a walk it out. People are going to think it's a walk it out because of the context of hip hop. For me, I would give that a sugar because of posture. It's similar to, but of course you could be more grounded, but notice her tone is higher. So that's why that felt more placed and it's not as grounded because they're also on the balls of their feet for that. And they're not sitting in any type of pocket for that groove, but that's called multiple things depending on what context. Here could potentially be hip hop. So we're going to go ahead and call it a walk it out, but that part, that kiss me, boom, right there. And then normally from that kind of prep, boom, you would want to do like a Dougie, like how they prepped it, but they don't. They do instead that more syncopated with the heel, little roll, and then they clap it around the back. I like that part. Take it over, boom, and boom to the other side, even though they're doing a ball change going in one direction. So that's a bit tricky on the torso. But then notice instead of actually dropping down, they make the hip be more of the forefront of the ISO or making that opposition take place. So that's a little detail that's different than whenever you see people do that particular move normally. hitting it through, that little dee-dee-ch, picking it up, rolling it through, do-dee-dee, and then they're about to take it. Notice the range is just slightly off. Some of them have their arms pretty high, some have it a little cut off. That goes back to if you're using your back or your arms. You can really tell between these two for that. Little walk through, everyone doing kind of their own thing. I like that, taking around, nice little turn pivot, fun. Little subtleties in the body roll looks fun. That booch, booch. Stepping it through. That felt more like a step in. Didn't feel like a shamrock because we didn't use any groove to get into that. It was just a step together. Fine. It's totally fine. Last course, the syncopated, but I think they do it the opposite way. It's what that looks like. I could be wrong. That's okay. So notice it goes slow, boom, boom, then we slow it down. Yes, it's using the same groove, making it like an ambidextrous groove to where you can learn it so it feels digestible because you do it on both sides. But the tricky part about it is the timing of it and the speed change of it and how you have to milk through or create tension through a groove instead of just making it bounce through your counts. You're making it intentional to a very particular sound, so it makes you listen to the song more. So good job, Isabelle, and good job the SSERAFIM for doing that too, to make it very clear for us to see. Their little rebound there, boom, like that. They go, they're sitting down. Nice little high five. They said, yeah, we just did that, which you did. It was really nice. So everybody kind of turns, everybody except for one of them, she turns the opposite way. It's fine. Looks full. Full looks cool. And then they reset and they're done. Way to go. So honestly, I liked this. This was fun, and it definitely, I feel, it gave me the opportunity to talk about the beauty of hip hop and the different street styles that could potentially be threaded within it. Also know too, like, yeah, if this does have some hip hop, like most of it has hip hop backing, and it's not just because of the choreographer. Just because a choreographer choreographs a certain way doesn't mean that they're a part of that culture. Like for me, Isabelle, yeah, she has like a heavy background in it. That's fine. It's great. But like, you can't always assume that your choreographer is going to bring a particular style because it's a collaboration, right? LeSSERAFIM had to be a student of it, just like Isabelle had to be considerate of LeSSERAFIM. So it was a really nice collaboration between the two. I think with this, I would give this, it's pretty easy to do, the content in isolation. But if you think about, if you're doing it as a group of 5, it's going to naturally be harder because of formations and transitions. But if you're doing it like, you know, like a short, like what I may do, you know, it's probably, it's not going to take that long for me, but it's because I'm used to a hip hop pocket, and I may actually make it a little bit more hip hop than what they did. They actually dropped the posture in a different way, but they matched the track that was fitting for them. And that's the beauty of hip hop a lot of times too, is the usage of taking moves and showcasing artistry through them. And so that's why for me, I mean, I like it. This was good. So I'm glad for the recommendation by a lot of people, because I wouldn't have seen it if I wasn't recommended it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. If you want to see more LeSSERAFIM, I think I have one other at this point in time that I've done an analysis for, but I do K-pop dance analysis. I do marathons as well, where I take a look at a K-pop group and I go through their entire discography from debut up until their most recent work. And right now I'm actually doing Chungha, so that's really fun to see her because she has a heavy whacking background, heavier than most artists, so that makes it fun for me because I have trained in whacking for a couple of years, and it's really nice to see that, just a lot of the fingerprints and threaded throughout her discography and her movement quality. So I love that. If you want to see that, I have all of the early released on Patreon, like this video too. This was out about a whole day before I got released on YouTube. So if you're somebody that doesn't want to wait for anything that I make, because I normally release around 3 to 5 times more on Patreon than I do on YouTube. If you're somebody that wants in on that, we got a Patreon over there. But if you're fine with just the discussions, I'm fine with the discussions here on YouTube as well. This has been really fun. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Jess, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.